it's important to become confident in navigating around your sequence using the video sequencer. So to do that, first I'm going to switch this top left panel here to be the outliner. We'll switch this to video sequencer and it will show here the clips in the sequence. Now let's look at the sequencer window. The first important point is that the keyboard shortcuts I'm about to show you are only going to work if your mouse pointer here is actually over the sequencer window. If it's over this pane, then the keystrokes are sent to this pane. So for example, if I zoom out or zoom in, it's going to affect that pane, whereas if I zoom out or zoom in with the mouse over here, it affects this pane. So make sure you have the mouse pointer over the sequencer pane. Just to be clear, in this tutorial I'm mentioning the home and page up and page down keys. I'm referring to the keys which are in between the main keyboard and the numeric keypad. The keys you need to press are home and page up and page down. The first useful key is the home key. Press that, it will fit all of your clips exactly into the sequencer window. Zoom out a bit to see that that's indeed where they end. The minus key on the numeric keypad zooms out and the plus key zooms in. So home key to show the entire sequence, numeric keypad minus to zoom out, and numeric keypad plus to zoom in. The next thing we can also do is use the mouse wheel, the middle mouse wheel, to zoom like so. So I'm just turning the middle mouse wheel so that it changes my zoom level, but I'm not pressing it. If I pressed it, I can move sideways without zooming in and out. Another thing I can do is press Shift and B, and that will give me the ability to draw a box like this, and that will zoom in to exactly show the contents of that boxed area. So that is useful for zooming in on a particular part of your project. I'll press home to zoom back out again and use the mouse wheel to scroll out a bit further. The next thing we need to think about is how to zoom in on a particular clip. So if I select this clip with the aeroplane in it and press period on the numeric keypad, that will zoom in onto that exact clip and show that totally in the sequencer window. If I zoom back out again and select a different clip and press period, it zooms in on that one. And over here on the right is another clip. I'll select that, press period, and it zooms to show exactly the contents of that clip. So that's very handy to zoom in to a particular clip or set of clips. So if I had two of them selected, like these two, it would fit them both into the sequencer window. Now the next useful thing is if I press 0 on the numeric keypad, it will center the sequencer on the playhead. So the playhead is here and that has centered the sequencer on it. And if I press period on the numeric keypad, it also zooms to fit that exactly. If I move the playhead over here and press 0, it will center that playhead in the middle of the sequencer, and then if I select that clip and press period, it zooms in to fully show that. Now a couple of useful things to check in the playback window is firstly turn on audio scrubbing so that as you move the playhead around you'll hear the audio scrubbing in the background. I've turned the volume down a bit so it's a bit hard to hear. And the other useful thing is to select follow current frame. So when you are playing a clip, we're playing this clip, and as the playhead disappears off the edge of the window, it will recenter it so that we can still see the playhead. So that's handy if you're playing a long sequence and you want to see the playhead still as you go from clip to clip. Now speaking of the playhead, we can move it by just clicking up here in the timeline, which shows how far into the clip we are. So I can just left click there to change its position, or I can shift right click anywhere like this and move the playhead by shift right clicking in anywhere in the sequencer window. Shift left arrow moves to the start of the playback range, and shift right arrow moves to the end of the playback range. I'll press shift left arrow to go to the start of the sequence. Page down takes me to the start of the next clip, but not the end of the current clip. Page down again takes me to the end of the clip at the bottom. Page down again takes me to the start of the next clip. Page down takes me to the end of that clip, and page down takes me to the end of the final clip. Page up goes in the opposite direction, so page up, page up, page up, page up, page up. So page up and page down moves you from one clip to the next. Alt page down goes to the middle of the next clip. So if I press Alt and page down, it goes to the middle of the clip that we're currently on. Alt and page down takes me to the middle of the next clip. Alt and page down takes me to the middle of that clip. And trying again, it doesn't move because there are no more clips. Similarly, Alt and page up takes you to the middle of the previous clip, again to the middle of the previous clip, and doing it again does nothing because there are no more previous clips. Right arrow on the keyboard moves you forward one frame, so you can see we're at 32 seconds in plus 18 frames. Right arrow moves me to 32 seconds and 19 frames. 32 seconds and 20 frames. Left arrow goes backwards, so 32 seconds and 19 frames, 32 seconds and 18 frames. Control right arrow moves forward a second, so if I hold down Control and do a right arrow, it'll go to 33 seconds and 18 frames, 34 seconds and 18 frames, 35 seconds and 18 frames, and so on. Control left arrow goes 1 second backwards rather than forwards. The exact distance that you go can be set here. The jump unit here is set to be seconds and the delta amount is 1. So if I wanted to go forward 5 seconds, I could change that to 5. And now Control right arrow goes me forward 5 seconds, and Control left arrow goes back 5 seconds. I'll just change that back to 1 to be consistent with the defaults. If you have keyframes, up arrow goes to the previous keyframe and down arrow goes to the next keyframe. You can also set preview ranges. Let's say, for example, I'm just testing the transitions between the aeroplane and the forest, and I just want to get that part right. I can make a preview range by pressing P, draw a box, and now when I play, it only plays inside the preview range, and when it gets to the end, it'll go back to the start of the preview range. So that's handy for just getting a certain part of your video right without overshooting it to another part. You can press Alt P to clear the preview range. The last useful thing here is if you select everything, which you can do by pressing A on the keyboard, and you'll see each of the clips has got an orange frame around it. Now we can go to the View menu, Range, Set Frame Range to Strips, which makes the end here become the end of the range. So that is going to be the range in which your video is output. So that's the outputting range, or I should say the rendering range, compared to the preview range. Another way of moving around your sequencer, especially with a large project, is to find strips by name. Now, in this particular case, I have 3 strips and their initial name is the same as their file name. So you can see this first strip is 3657467, blah, 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 blah. So firstly, to make things simpler, I'm going to delete any audio tracks that are not required. Now, these 2 strips are connected. You can see by the little link icon at the top, which means if you move one around, the other one moves around as well. Now, connected strips are going to have 2 names, one for each strip. Since the audio is empty here, I'm going to Alt-click just to select that audio strip and press Delete or X to get rid of it. Now, this is the forest scene, so I'm going to press F2 to allow me to rename it and type in forest. And you see up here, the name in the properties window has also changed. I'll click on the ocean scene, and this time I'll type in ocean up here, and you'll see that the name was changed on the strip as well. Now on the left, because these two are connected, if I rename them, it's going to rename the underlying strips, but not the group. You see up here there's a group consisting of two underlying strips. So I'll press F2 and type airplane, and that's renamed this part of the group. It doesn't really matter if I rename this other one or not, because if I find airplane here, it's also going to give me the same location of the sound. But I could select that, press F2, type in airplane again, and then it will call it airplane.001. Now, having given them all a name, I can now go to the ocean clip by just clicking on ocean here, and you'll see that the selection has moved back to the ocean. Now if I press period on the numeric keypad, that will now fill the sequencer, and I could click in the timeline to move the playhead over the ocean. Similarly, I can click on forest to select that, press period on the numeric keypad, click here, and now I'm viewing the forest. Another way of doing it, if there happen to be a lot of them, it would be just to search for it. So for example, I could type in airplane, and now it shows me the airplane clips. Double click that one, press period on the numeric keypad, and I've now selected the airplane. I've zoomed to fill the view, and I'm scrubbing over it. So using the outliner is an easy way of moving around your sequencer by the names of the clips. Thanks for watching.